As we all should know by now, LeBron is set to be a free agent this summer, and where he ends up will completely change the NBA once again. He can be the difference of a team like Cleveland making the finals when they shouldn't have, or the Cavs being a lottery team once again, and essentially a laughingstock without LeBron's presence. So with that being said, if LeBron James loses this NBA Finals, which is completely possible and probable because, J.R. Smith, George Hill, the collapse they had in game one, they're most likely going to lose this series, even though it hurts me to say that. It's just hard for them to beat the Warriors. So when he loses this series and he goes home and goes to the summer, what is he going to do? Well, first things first, let's just start where he's at right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers. In 2014, when LeBron shocked the world with the news that he's coming home, he basically made a commitment to bring a championship to Cleveland, or, try his hardest to bring it, and he actually delivered on his promise. As we all know, he came back from down 3-1 and won an NBA championship for a franchise that's never seen that. When he joined Kyrie and Kevin Love, he completely dedicated and committed himself to bringing a championship home. Even though Cleveland isn't exactly home for LeBron, Akron is. It's just the closest thing in the NBA. He completely dedicated himself to bring it home to Cleveland. And now that he's done it, I don't think he has any ties, commitments, or promises to Cleveland. He delivered on his promise. And in my opinion, they have some of the worst contracts in the league. It's very hard for them to get better. They're paying Kevin Love $24 million next year, and I'm sorry, he's just way too inconsistent for me to pay someone like him that much, especially for that team. He's just not valuable enough. Also, they have George Hill and Tristan Thompson almost making more than Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, and they're nowhere near the players they are. LeBron, if he stayed on this team, he would just be wasting prime years and racking up finals defeats with this team. Yeah, loyalty, that's good and all, but he's already delivered on his promise, so I just don't think he has any guarantees anymore. Unless Cleveland could package a deal with that 8th pick and maybe some players, Kevin Love, I don't know, for someone like Kawhi Leonard, maybe, but other than that, I don't feel like they have a chance. So with that being said, let's go to the next team, the Los Angeles Lakers. I really never quite gather how I feel about LeBron in a Lakers jersey, but goddamn, the television ratings, shoes, everything would be so high with LeBron on that team. When the Lakers are good, the NBA is just like 10 times better. The Lakers, the Celtics, and the Knicks, when they're good, the NBA is great. The Lakers with Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, they're one team that can actually afford 2 new superstars this offseason. Most likely they'll do a pitch for Paul George and LeBron James. And Paul and LeBron, they were rumored to play together since last year when he was with Cleveland. So this is a duo that I guess you can say is long overdue, but I just don't feel like LeBron, Paul George, and the young talent they have, it might not be enough to challenge teams actually in the West like Houston and Golden State. In the East, they would dominate, but in the West, I'm just not quite sure. Chris Paul, he'll probably sign with Houston again. I don't think he would just get hurt and really abandon that team, even though he didn't mean to, just abandon them and not come back. I think he's going to join them again. So if he's in Houston and Golden State stays where they are, that's 2 teams that you might not even get to the Western Conference with, LA. So I'm not sure if LA is the exact spot to challenge teams in the West, and that's the whole goal if he goes there. And don't forget about the sneaky tough teams like Utah, San Antonio, OKC. So I think LeBron going to such a young movement like LA is such a gamble. Even their coach, LeBron will be 34 this year. Their coach is 38, so he's really only 4 or 5 years older than LeBron. So that's just it's a gamble, so I'm not sure. So now let's narrow it down to the 2 favorable options, and to me the best 2 options, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Houston Rockets. The 76ers, they have 2 young stars who can at least be dominant in the East for years to come. Say what you want about my boy Ben Simmons, he dominated the court for the season for the most part, and he really couldn't even shoot. And Joel Embiid, he played well enough to earn a starting spot on the All-Star team and be selected 2nd team All-NBA, so they are on the rise. And Philly, they will make a lot of sense for LeBron because 1, he stays in the East, in which he was able to dominate without the best talent this year. So imagine what he would do with talent. He gets to play with someone who's like his young prodigy in Ben Simmons, who will actually allow him to play off the ball because of how much he handles the point. Yeah, Ben can't shoot, but can you imagine those 2 coming on a fast break? That would be like the most lethal thing ever. We all praise D-Wade and LeBron, how they were in transition and stuff like that. But could you imagine Ben Simmons at 6'10" and LeBron? That's deadly, man. Yeah, Philly would have to make a few arrangements for him to actually land on that roster, but once he lands there, which is very probable, they will be unstoppable in the East. but I'm still not sure if he can actually win titles there, because they would have to be Golden State, Houston, teams like that. And that's where I go to my next team, the Houston Rockets. I really wanted LeBron to go there, so I was reading, man, how could this happen? How can they make this work? I know Daryl Morey, he's so smart. What can happen? And if it were to happen, here's basically how it will go down. LeBron will probably have to opt into his final year with Cleveland, allowing Dan Gilbert to trade him to Houston for a package deal of maybe a player like Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson and some draft assets. I don't know exactly how that will work, because I know Cleveland wouldn't be okay with that. But that's the easiest way for LeBron to leave without destroying Houston's whole roster. I mean, in all actuality, it's likely not to happen, because Houston, they just don't have enough to offer Cleveland a fair deal for LeBron James, the best player maybe ever. So that's pretty unfortunate. Yeah, joining that team with two superstars would be great basketball-wise, but it just doesn't really make sense for Houston, so it's probably not going to happen. And you'll just have three players who really don't fit the best together, and essentially no bench. And LeBron James, James Harden, and Chris Paul, essentially they're all point guards in their own respective ways, so that would be hard enough. And without complementary players, it would just be damn near impossible to beat a team like Golden State with just three players. To me, what actually allowed Houston to win 65 games and challenge Golden State like they did was the plethora of guys they can throw at you. They threw Trevor Ariza, PJ Tucker, Gerald Green, James Harden, Chris Paul, Capella. If they just completely obliterate that team, it wouldn't even be the same, and it just wouldn't make sense. A team that basically should have beaten Golden State if their star Chris Paul were healthy. It just doesn't make sense to obliterate that roster and bring in LeBron and really lose everything that got you there besides James Harden and Chris Paul. So it just doesn't make sense for both parties, Houston or Cleveland. So it probably won't happen. So in conclusion, the best options to me, if LeBron James loses this NBA Finals, which he will, if he loses and when he loses, the best options is Los Angeles. If Paul George decides to come along, or if they can make a trade for Kawhi Leonard or something like that, and the Philadelphia 76ers, which to me is the best option because they already have their two stars set in stone. Those are the best options. To me, his best bet is Philly because one, he gets to stay in the East, and like I said, he plays with two stars. And if he goes to Philly, yeah, Ben Simmons can't shoot, but you don't think LeBron going to Philly will help Ben Simmons with his shooting? I mean, I know JJ Redick, he tried to help him and stuff like that, but I don't really like a sharpshooter, a guy that's been shooting great all of his life, helping Ben Simmons, because they really can't, they can't really relate. I want a player that he's been there before, he struggled. LeBron, he wasn't the best shooter when he came in, and he completely transformed into a deadly shooter everywhere now. So that he needs a player like that, someone who's learned and went through it. Maybe not as bad as Ben Simmons, but to a certain degree, he's been through the shooting struggle. So that's, it will work out, and it will match perfectly to me. But that's really the video. Those are the options for LeBron if he doesn't really, stay with Cleveland and stuff like that. I don't think Houston is really a legit option, but it sounds good. It's sexy on paper. We all want to see it, but it's probably not going to happen. I wish LeBron can win this finals, and I wish he can get a star there so he can stay in Cleveland. I hate that he has to leave again, but if he wants to win and chase those championships, most likely it's his best option, because here he's just going to continue to lose. In Boston, they're getting better, and Philly. So that's the video. If you like the video, make sure you guys leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on my post notifications. Do all that great stuff. Follow my social medias. Do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, stay tuned.
I've been trying to make you